For as long as I can remember, I've had a hearing loss in my right ear. But it never really bothered me because having perfect hearing in the left, it wasn't really a problem. That was until about 20 years ago when I had an accident, following which I lost the hearing completely in my left ear, just leaving what I had left in the right. And that's when it became obvious how bad my hearing was. I had a good local audiologist who fitted me up with a hearing aid, and that enabled me to go back to work and do most of the things that I'd done in the past, with the exception really of being able to listen to music. And watching the television, I then needed subtitles because I couldn't hear the words too well. Over the years, my hearing continued to deteriorate, but the audiologist was always there to update the hearing aids with the most modern, better ones, stronger, more powerful, state-of-the-art. And that was fine until about 7 years ago, when my hearing got so bad that there was not much more he could do with a hearing aid. And at that stage, he suggested I might like to go for a cochlear implant. Well, from what I knew about it, I decided to decline at that stage. I suppose really I was a bit scared with the thought of having what I thought was going to be a very major operation. So I left it at that stage and struggled on with the hearing aid that I had. Well, I had a lot of family support, particularly from my wife, where we sort of developed our own sort of sign language. And also a lot of stuff had to be written down pen and paper wise, because otherwise I just couldn't understand it. We're both keen amateur photographers and spend a lot of our free time out and about with our cameras. And as part of that, very often people would come up to us and ask us what we were doing, or ask questions about the cameras and the lenses that we were using. And that's when it really came home to me just how little hearing I had, because I just couldn't get involved in those conversations. So I got a referral to the unit here at Southampton for an assessment for a cochlear implant. And I had those assessments during April and May of this year, and following which, as I had hoped and expected, I was accepted for an implant and put on the waiting list. Fortunately, I didn't have to wait too long because I had the operation at the beginning of September, just in hospital for a day, came home the next day, and then had to leave it for 4 or 5 weeks to let everything settle down and heal up before I was turned on. Anyway, the day of the turn on was at the beginning of October, and my wife and I got up early in the morning and were quite excited at the prospect of within a few hours being able to hear again. And we arrived at the centre quite early. We met the audiologist, and after a few initial set-up tests, really just to get a sound level that was comfortable for me, it was time for the actual turn on. And I was warned not to expect too much. Yeah, it might sound a bit odd, and if you get a couple of words, then you'll be doing really well. So the anticipation was there, and she threw the switch, and I was just totally blown away because I could hear every single word she said, and I could also hear my wife, who was in the background behind me, so clearly. It was just absolutely amazing. I couldn't believe it. It was how lucky I was. And that was the beginning of really a new period in my life. Each day after that brings, and still does, new hearing experiences. Sometimes they're just small things like hearing the telephone ring or birds singing. But the real main thing has been being able to hear people talk again and have conversations with friends, family, even strangers. It's still early days, though. I've only been turned on for a matter of, 6 weeks now. But what I'm really looking forward to over a period of, I don't know, months, maybe even a couple of years, is being able to listen to music again, use the telephone normally, maybe even go to a concert or two. Do I have any regrets? Well, yes, but only the one. And that's why didn't I go for the cochlear implant years ago when I was first offered it. It's changed my life completely.